Welcome to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. Are you trying to master the game of life without success? There are secrets and strategies to living your best life. We'll share some of them with you on today's show. Take advantage of this series to become an expert at relationships. All relationships. It's time to live the life that you deserve to live. Now, here's your host, Sandra Reish.
Welcome to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish, a show that helps you live your best life and reach for the stars. Don't forget to feel free to call into the show. Call in with questions at 1-866-472-5792. And as usual, we do have a prize today if anyone calls in. We have a pass to Montreal Spa Eastman, a 2-for-1 pass. So feel free to call us at 1-866-472-5792. As usual, we are also streaming the show live on Facebook, so please head over to Straight Talk Sandra Reish Facebook site and join the conversation. My guest today actually is someone very dear to me. I met her really serendipitously. It's actually, it's unbelievable. And from the moment we spoke, we just couldn't stop speaking. So she's an incredible expert, but I have to tell you on top of that, she's really an incredible person. She, quite frankly, blew me away. Her name is Marie Bancuso. She's laughing, but I'm telling you, she's awesome. Let me tell you a little bit about her. First of all, there's a lot of things she does, so I want you to be aware of that. She is an internationally recognized author and expert in childbearing issues, which is why today's topic is going to be so interesting. By the way, Marie, I already heard from people saying, where were you 18 months ago? And someone else who have gone through this. Since many peer-reviewed articles she's done related to labor, delivery, breastfeeding, and other topics. She was the AWHONNS's Nursing for Women's Health and regular columnist for childbirth instructor. We have to know more about that, please. She's held positions as staff nurse, clinical nurse specialist, and nurse administrator at many hospitals, as well as faculty positions at prestigious universities. My God, you have an incredible bio. She is a founding member of the United States Breastfeeding Committee. See, this is an important topic, breastfeeding, and she served in leadership capacities in both organizations for over a decade, the Breastfeeding Committee, and as well as, I'm not sure the other committee, we're going to have to get that from Marie, it's cut off on my paper, but she is the Director of Education also at Breastfeeding Outlook. Now, Marie, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you for having me.
I want to mention right off the bat that you are also the host of your own show on Voice America. Can you tell people about that, please?
Oh, sure. Yes, I am now 3 years into it. I'm the host for Born to be Breastfed, also on the Health and Wellness channel at Voice America. And luckily, it was because of that that I got to meet you, because, of course, a mutual producer, our executive producer, Robert, who is so fabulous, said, I've got this host, and here's what she does. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'd like to be a guest there. So that worked so well.
I have found you fascinating from day one. And, right off the bat, what I first heard about you, Marie, which you may not know, is I had heard about your show, Born to be Breastfed, that it was a really hot show. And that in itself is very interesting, that a show on breastfeeding would be such a hot show. With due respect, I did not realize this is such a big topic. But when I actually started speaking to you and hearing about it, and I got to be on your amazing show, I was amazed at what a huge topic this is, and also your incredible expertise and charm. You really have a lot to offer people. So as I often say, I'm very excited today to be speaking with you. So thank you so much again.
Oh, likewise. Sandra, let me just be eager to say that the reason probably that I'm any good at my show at all is that I'm passionate about the topic, and I'm passionate about today's topic. And as the old saying goes, if you love what you do, you'll never have to work a day in your life. And I don't feel like I'm working at all. So
It's amazing. And when I speak to you on the phone, I can't hang up because your passion is so contagious. I'm a huge fan. Let's share with people why and what you do. So you're known as a breastfeeding expert. Okay. Why are you the breastfeeding expert, and how did you get into this area?
Oh, well, you know, Sandra, I'm a nurse, and I kind of, stumbled into the whole breastfeeding business. I guess maybe people do recognize me as a breastfeeding expert because I've written books on breastfeeding, and I've designed and taught a lactation course, actually more than one lactation course for professionals. I've taught all over the United States, that sort of thing. But, honestly, I stumbled into breastfeeding while I was working labor and delivery as a staff nurse and later as a clinical nurse specialist. So it's really been, I guess there's a lot of overlap for me, and you'll hear this, I suspect, while we're doing the show, that breastfeeding and childbearing are not separate. They're not separate at all. When I was a young nurse, we used to talk about conception, gestation, parturition, and lactation. And those words all kind of sound alike. But then when we started talking about it as conception, pregnancy, labor and delivery, and breastfeeding, it all kind of sounded disconnected. And then we became disconnected. But these topics are hugely connected. So I think that my passion really comes because so much of what we do in labor and delivery these days, or childbearing, first of all, some 95% of births happen in the hospital, at least here in the U.S. I know you're in Montreal. I don't know how it is there, but
Probably the same.
I would imagine it would be very similar, yeah. But I'm really convinced that these interventions can seriously affect women's perceptions of themselves and their abilities for really the entire childbearing cycle, including labor and delivery and breastfeeding. So anyway, that's kind of how I got into breastfeeding, was in through the back door, because I was really doing labor and delivery. Was kind of a mouthy nurse in labor and delivery, by the way, because I really believed that we over-interventioned everybody. And I'm not saying that intervention is always inappropriate. There absolutely is a time for intervention, but it does impact breastfeeding. So to me, they're pretty well connected.
Wow. Okay. So like when I got to be on your show, we talked about labor and delivery issues in relation to depression and anxiety. And we found that there was a really interesting conversation about that. Now, I know statistics show that we're using lots of medical and surgical interventions for labor and delivery, cesarean surgery and induction, lots of other interventions. But are there any studies to show that maternal anxiety and the resulting obstetrical interventions are related? Like anxiety and birth outcomes?
Yes, Sandra, actually, there's been a lot more done with the relationship to depression. And I think there's a pretty good paper trail of studies that show that there's a relationship between traumatic birth and postpartum depression. But then it goes back to, okay, so what constitutes a traumatic birth? Is it 4 hours of pushing? Is it having a cesarean? Is it having 4 hours of pushing and then having a cesarean? Is it having an induced labor, which I don't know, again, I don't know how it is elsewhere in the world, but here in the U.S., it's fairly common that we're doing these 2-day inductions of labor with oxytocin, which is actually, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but it's synthetic oxytocin, which is not your normal oxytocin that's floating around in your body and my body right now. And so we've gotten a fair amount of data that show that, yes, there is a direct relationship between these interventions and depression. There's starting to be some studies on anxiety. For example, if you look at Ariel's study in 2014, they looked at pregnant women who were at least 28 weeks gestation or possibly more, and then they did follow-up after birth, and they clearly showed that anxiety occurs during the last trimester of pregnancy and lactation, and that especially if there's acute state anxiety, there are negative effects on the duration and the phases of labor, which is kind of a fancy way of saying it's a longer labor. And Sandra, I will tell you, I have labored hundreds, maybe thousands of women, and I will tell you unquestionably, I don't need a study to tell me that. I've always said, you show me an anxious woman and I will show you a long labor. So we're starting to get that. There was a new study out in 2015 that talked about comorbidity, and that was about depression and anxiety. And as you explained when you were on my show, or actually maybe we had that discussion when we were off the air, I'm not sure. But anyway, you were saying that depression and anxiety are really just two forms of the same thing. And so it seems to me like this comorbidity kind of goes with it. But we've got all sorts of studies that show that this synthetic oxytocin, which is what you get when you're induced. All right, here's the clunker with that. Oxytocin is the love hormone.
Yeah,
So,
it's the attachment hormone.
I mean,
Oxytocin.
you and I have got oxytocin floating around in our bodies right now, and Lord knows we're better off for it, okay? Oxytocin is what you have, and I always try to tell this to people. Oxytocin spikes at 3 important times in our life: during a sexual orgasm, during delivery, and during breastfeeding. And so if you talk to somebody like Michel Odent, who, by the way, I just can't believe he's still in this business. He's way older than I am, and he's giving a talk in France, I think this month or next month. And he said years ago that, in fact, conception or orgasm, delivery, and breastfeeding are all the same event. He said it's only separated by time. So what we really need to look at is, where does this anxiety fit into the whole childbearing cycle? Because it does, Sandra, it does. And here's the other thing, is that people kind of think, oh, well, I'm just anxious, I'm just nervous, and oh, well, that's just who I am. But as you and I both know, it's a lot deeper than that, and we have a lot more control over that than what we might think.
Well, this is fascinating. And anxiety is a topic near and dear to my heart. So we're seeing it definitely affects childbirth. It definitely affects breastfeeding. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Straight Talk with Sandra Reish.
Your life, your health, your network. You're listening to Voice America Health and Wellness.
Change your life forever with the latest cutting-edge products for home study treatment for anxiety, featuring the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression and host of Straight Talk, Sandra Reish. Sandra is joined by top therapist Georgia Dow in this revolutionary anxiety videos therapy series. Thousands of people have benefited from this scientifically proven treatment approach. Isn't it time you chose yourself? Visit anxiety-videos.com right now. That's anxiety-videos.com and change your life forever.
Join the therapist who is affectionately known as the Couple Whisperer, Sandra Reish, on her famous couple retreats, and change your life forever. Sandra offers couple retreats in beautiful locations several times a year that can radically change your love life. Couples describe her retreats as life-changing. Regain that loving feeling, bring your intimacy to a new level, and rediscover excitement and joy. Find out more at helpforanxietydepression.com or call 514-796-4357. We all want love and safety. Now you can have it. Call 514-796-4357 or helpforanxietydepression.com.
Spa Munari is a full-service wellness day spa located at the heart of West Island, Quebec. Submerge yourself in beauty with one of our many treatments, specially catered to your needs. We offer facials, manicures, pedicures, hair removal, massages, body treatments, and so much more. Enjoy our ultimate relaxation experience with our spa packages. We offer a men's menu as well. Call us today to book your next appointment at 514-695-5040 or visit us on the web at spamunari.com. That's 514-695-5040 or spamunari.com.
A fresh look at today's health. Voice America Health and Wellness.
You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reish.
Hi, we're back on Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. Fascinating topic today. As always, I always like to give a shout out at the first time we come back, second segment, to our wonderful sponsor, Spaminary. And, you know, Marie, you'll find this interesting too. It's too bad you don't live here, but, you know, we're talking about anxiety. We're talking about relaxing the body. Going and spending a day at a spa can be life-changing for people. And there's a wonderful spa here in Montreal called Spaminary. You can reach them at 514-695-5040. And what's really cool is that the owner of that spa has offered 15% off to anyone who mentions Straight Talk with Sandra Reish when they call the spa. So you can't do better than that. So Spaminary, 514-695-5040. I'm sure you agree, Marie, there's nothing like a day at the spa.
Sandra, I got to tell you, my massage is scheduled for tomorrow at 4 p.m.
There you go. There you go. And if you were in Montreal, you'd be at Spaminary.
That's right. That's right. I would be there. Absolutely.
Okay, so we left off on anxiety and depression affecting, breastfeeding and also labor and delivery, and anxiety affecting birth outcomes. So you were talking about that. I want to make sure that we gave you enough time to answer that.
Yeah, I would just add, Sandra, breastfeeding is during the postpartum period. So it's also related to the postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression, which, hello, everybody, the wonderful Sandra Reish is going to be on my show again.
I'm excited. And we're going to talk about that, aren't we?
That's right. We are. So I'm not going to steal Sandra's thunder. I am not an expert on anxiety by any means. I just know that people have it. I know it when I see it, and I know that it absolutely affects every facet of their being. So of course it affects their birthing experience. And Sandra, maybe just one other thing that I wanted to add, which is, Dr. Grantley Dick Reed published his book called Childbirth Without Fear in 1942. Now do the math. That is more than 70 years ago. And wow. That book is still in print. And by the way, we still have women who are fearful of the birth process, which, by the way, is why we're having this show today, because, they really need to understand that there's more to it than just what they think it is, I guess.
Well, I think that you're being too humble. You gave me credit for coming on your show to talk about that. But the truth is, one of the reasons I think we were destined to meet is that you instinctively always understood that anxiety and depression play a role in labor and delivery interventions, as well as postpartum and breastfeeding. As soon as we talked, you said you felt it. You hadn't talked to a specialist in that, but you definitely were on to that. So I am curious, how did you know that instinctively, and what are your thoughts on that? Like, how come we had such a meeting of the minds on that? Like you said, it just fit for you that anxiety and depression would play a role in this.
Because I have seen women who are completely relaxed, completely focused, completely in control of themselves without medication, okay? And I have seen what their birth experience looks like, feels like, sounds like, etc. And I have been in that room many, many, many times. And then I've been in the room with these, what I call nervous Nellies. And they're hyperventilating. They've got this fearful look in their eye, which, by the way, Sandra, we're back to the saber-toothed tiger, okay? When they've got, you know what I mean. I can see that look in their eye. They're frightened. They're grasping my hand. They're screeching. And I don't know that I would say it doesn't bother me. I would say I feel like it's my job to get them past that. And sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not. But what I find is that they do have a long labor. They do not have a happy labor. It's like all they want to do is just get it done with. And that looks to me so very different than these women who, Sandra, I am not exaggerating this. I have heard them say, after the baby comes swooshing out, I have heard them say, I do it again, I do it again, I do it again. And,
wow.
and the way in which they say that is so compelling that when I was a really young nurse, all I could think of was, okay, I got it. You don't have to tell me again. And then one day I realized they're not really telling me. It's just coming out of their mouth because they are so joyful. They are so ecstatic. I have seen these. I'm not making this up. I didn't get this out of a book. Okay. And then there's this other end of the spectrum, which is these anxious women. And it's so sad. Or better, well, worse yet, the women who have their epidurals and they feel nothing. And I don't believe that we were put on this planet to feel nothing.
Wow. Okay, that's a strong statement and an important one. So wait a second. I just want to make sure I have this right. Is then, are we saying that maternal anxiety is related to like cesarean surgery and induction? Are we making that connection?
Well, I am telling you that there is a limited amount of research, and the very best article that I could find that supports that is the Ariel's study that looked at these pregnant women from 28 weeks gestation on. They didn't look at them just in labor, although they did look at them at that time as well. So I don't know that it's certainly not cause and effect, or at least let me say this, we cannot prove cause and effect. But I am telling you that having seen these women, I know that there is a clear association. And so when I teach a course, one of the things I say is, one nurse's observations do not a study make. But right. One nurse's observations over many, many, many clinical experiences over many years, kind of worth listening to.
I agree with you. And, I feel that way sometimes as a therapist, is that you're on the front line.
Yeah.
Like, we're on the front lines. If you're on the front lines, you know what you see. So I think this is very important for people to understand. And, I feel a little bit silly asking this question because it's obviously easier said than done. But what are the reasons that women have high levels of anxiety in labor and delivery? And I know, again, before people laugh at me, a lot of people know I adopted my children, so I did not go through labor and delivery. And so it may seem really, really insensitive of me to say that. And I can imagine giving birth is a stressful experience, of course. But you're stating that there is a big variance between some women going, I would do this again, and some women freaking out. So what is the deciding factor in your opinion?
I think there are 5 reasons. You just asked me, Sandra, what are the reasons that women have high anxiety levels in labor and delivery? And I'm going to tell you 5 reasons. The first one is it's contagious. All right? You've got, for instance, these doctors who are saying, well, it's been so many hours. Are you ready for an operation here? Are you ready for an operation? We can do a cesarean, And of course, now we've got 32% cesarean rate here in the U.S. Actually, it's as much as 40% in the state of Alabama, which is absolutely horrific. So I'm sorry for all you people who are in Alabama and listening to this. So that's part of it. The other thing is we've got people who are talking to their this is part of the contagion part, all right? They've got their mothers, their friends who say, oh, I got these terrible war stories about how terrible my birth was. And so they're catching this anxiety from their mother, their friends, their sisters, and they assume that it's got to be that way for them. And of course it isn't. I will tell you another thing that is contagious is the junk we see in the media. Now, how many times do we turn on the TV and we see this woman being wheeled at 100 miles an hour down on the gurney, screeching, and the IV is flowing and everybody is, prancing around, and there's all of this crazy, I agree that does happen. It does happen, but it certainly doesn't happen all the time. I think, though, that women go into this thinking that that's sort of a fait accompli, that's going to happen. It doesn't have to happen.
Well, I think you say that so well, and I love the fait accompli in there as well. I think you say it well, but I think it brings up the fact that, and it's important for us to really emphasize this before the break, anxiety is very contagious. You're 100% right. And I don't know what it is about our human nature that we seem to like scaring people. It's like we want to tell people about the horrible experience we had, as we somehow think that's going to, I just want to warn you, this could go wrong. And actually, it doesn't help anyone. It's not like like then they're ready for it. Like, again, it's there's definitely things that can go wrong, but there's also, like you so well said, and I want to really piggyback on that. There's a lot of things that can go right. I love the story of the woman saying, I'd love to do this again. And I bet there's people listening right now, either on the stream on Facebook or live on Voice America, that have had wonderful birth experiences.
Absolutely.
But you're right, we don't hear about that, just like we don't hear about good things going on in the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't sell. It just doesn't sell. Even in dinner conversation, it's just not a good enough story. So I'm so glad you're here with us to tell us about that, because when we come back, I definitely want to talk about, as it's important to me. We've had advocates on the show before that people don't go and have cesarean surgery if it's not necessary. And it sounds like you feel the same way. So I think it's an important topic. So don't go away. We'll be right back with the amazing Marie Biancuzzo on Straight Talk with Sandra Reish.
Your life, your health, your network. You're listening to Voice America Health and Wellness.
Change your life forever with the latest cutting-edge products for home study treatment for anxiety, featuring the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression and host of Straight Talk, Sandra Reish. Sandra is joined by top therapist Georgia Dow in this revolutionary anxiety videos therapy series. Thousands of people have benefited from this scientifically proven treatment approach. Isn't it time you chose yourself? Visit anxiety-videos.com right now. That's anxiety-videos.com and change your life forever.
Join the therapist who is affectionately known as the Couple Whisperer, Sandra Reish, on her famous couple retreats, and change your life forever. Sandra offers couple retreats in beautiful locations several times a year that can radically change your love life. Couples describe her retreats as life-changing. Regain that loving feeling, bring your intimacy to a new level, and rediscover excitement and joy. Find out more at helpforanxietydepression.com or call 514-796-4357. We all want love and safety. Now you can have it. Call 514-796-4357 or helpforanxietydepression.com.
Spa Munari is a full-service wellness day spa located at the heart of West Island, Quebec. Submerge yourself in beauty with one of our many treatments, specially catered to your needs. We offer facials, manicures, pedicures, hair removal, massages, body treatments, and so much more. Enjoy our ultimate relaxation experience with our spa packages. We offer a men's menu as well. Call us today to book your next appointment at 514-695-5040 or visit us on the web at spamunari.com. That's 514-695-5040 or spamunari.com.
A fresh look at today's health. Voice America Health and Wellness.
You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reish.
We are back, and we are streaming live on Facebook. We're getting a huge reaction today to Marie Biancuzzo, Born to be Breastfed. That's her radio show on Voice America, and a million other amazing things she does, which I definitely want to mention before we run out of time, and we're not there yet, but she does courses for women who are, about breastfeeding and all sorts of fascinating things. I can't even list them all because she's such an interesting woman. I have like a little bit of a female crush on her. That is the truth. I'm sorry, she's laughing, but it's true. Okay, so you're just a very passionate, as you said, speaker, and we're talking about, this idea if we would, cut down on cesarean surgeries and induction, if people would reduce their anxiety. And you mentioned some research that supports that. So I was asking is, why do women have these high levels of anxiety? You were saying because there's a contagion effect. So how do women change the story? Like, what do they do? Like, if I were, obviously I'm not going to, but if I've heard all these horrible stories and now I get pregnant and I'm going into labor or delivery and I'm anxious because I'm scared things can go wrong. And then the doctor says to me, why don't you just have a cesarean? I could just imagine that. Like, what do I do?
Well, first of all, Sandra, this is huge. It is, and this is my second reason why women have these high levels of anxiety. And I kind of snitched this phrase from you because it's so great. It is the story in your head.
Yeah.
And let me tell you the stories I've heard. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. And you'll hear people say over and over with every contraction, I can't do this. Just take the baby. I cannot do this. Well, when you keep telling yourself you can't do this, if I were to say, oh dear, I can't do this. I can't do this radio show with Sandra. I can't do my own radio show. I can't walk across the street. I can't whatever. Well, then of course I can't. So I think that you've got to get rid of that story in your head. And then they will say, well, I can't deal with the pain. I can't deal with any kind of pain. I know I can't deal with this pain. And they haven't even started. And some women will say, and I've heard this many times, I don't want to feel anything. Just give me my epidural. I don't want to feel anything. And to me, part of the problem here is that women are asking the wrong questions, okay? So instead of saying, how do I not feel anything? How do I get my epidural? How soon can I get my epidural? Can I have my epidural now? What they really need to be asking is, how can I have an ecstatic birth? How can I be in ecstasy? How can I have this orgasmic experience, which I know is possible because the hormones support it, because people have experienced it. And by the way, they may not have heard people talk about it, but I'm talking about it right now. I have seen this many, many, many times of these people who are, it's almost, Sandra, like they are, one woman told me this. She said, I feel as though I am suspended between heaven and earth. And I distinctly remember that was her description. And I think
now I'm envious of women who gave birth. Like, orgasmic? You use the word orgasmic?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Heaven and earth.
I will tell you another thing, too. When I had Mark Harris on my show, and he is a midwife in England, he talked about women doing the amygdala dance. Now, you and I know what the amygdala is, okay? The amygdala is part of this ancient part of our brain. It's what mammals have had for probably millions of years. And so people become very uninhibited, and they do this, what Mark called amygdala dance. I have to admit, I had not heard that term. I don't know if that's a UK thing, but anyway. When he said that, it immediately conjured up in my mind women doing this stuff in the birth experience that you will see women do in a sexual orgasm. You will see them doing this rocking and swaying and bending. And I'm sorry I don't have my camera on because I'm doing this thing with my shoulders and my hands. All right. And they're bending and they're groaning and they're making these very, and so when you see and you hear this, and by the way, I want to go, I'm not making this part up either. If you really want the research, you go back to 1971, where Niles Newton, who, by the way, was a psychiatrist, or a psychologist, I'm not sure which. And she said, she looked at, I'm counting them right now because I have her article in front of me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's without my glasses on. Oh, 12. All right. She said there are all of these comparisons between an undrugged childbirth and the sexual excitement. And so she talks about, she did not call it the amygdala dance, but she talks about the breathing and the vocalization and the facial expressions and the position. Even the position is with legs bent and wide apart. Things like the sensory perception, it's almost like they're like out of their mind when they have this orgasmic experience. So if you really want to go back to 1971, Newton lays it all out for you And it's really just fascinating, these comparisons. And I think, Sandra, if there's nothing that I don't accomplish, if I can only accomplish one thing on the show today, it would be to tell women, you can have this experience. You can have this experience, but you've got to know that it's there, and you've got to want it. You've got to believe that it is possible. But when you say, just give me my epidural when I'm 2 centimeters dilated, how soon can I have my epidural? I can't do this. I can't stand the pain, blah, 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 blah. That story in your head is not serving you. And, here's the other thing. Women are always talking about how they want to do the jobs that men do. Excuse me, how about women doing a job that no man on this planet can do, all right? There is no man on this planet who can give birth. This should be the most empowering thing. Well, geez, get me going on empowering. I hear all this stuff about empowering. This is the most empowering thing I can think of. But you've got to see it happen. Does it happen with people who are frightened, who are anxious? No. Does it happen with women who can just let go and become completely uninhibited and let that amygdala take over? Yes, Sandra, it does happen. I'm telling you, I've seen it, and it is completely hormonally driven. And that fear, pain, in the fear, pain, fear cycle, epinephrine, what most people call adrenaline, is what's predominating. And so that's why you don't have that orgasmic experience, because you can't be in the defense mode and in the reproductive or pleasant mode all at the same time.
Yeah, well, you related it to sex. It's the same concept. If you're in fear mode, you're not going to be having an orgasm. So I get that. And it's, it's so important for people to hear this. Like, I can't even imagine if people have not heard you speak, how they go into giving birth as opposed to hearing this. Now, I do have a question, which is that many women have a carefully written birth plan that specifies all their wishes on how they want to labor, and maybe the nurses and doctors try to honor the mother's wishes, but often this plan falls apart. How do you explain this?
I can explain it in one word: visualization.
Oh.
Now, I know that somebody just asked on the break, Marie, will you come and be with me while I'm having my baby? No, I'm too old and too tired. All right. And I don't live in Montreal, but doulas do this. All right. And I hear people saying that they can't spend money for a doula. Well, people think nothing about spending tens of thousands of dollars on their wedding for their invitation and their candles and their flowers and their balloons and their all this stuff. Okay. And, quite honestly, that is a very short-lived investment. Having a doula is hugely important, because one of the things that doulas will help you with is visualization. It's a wish is not a plan, all right? So people come in with these birth plans that are really more like birth wishes. They really need to be able to do some visualization. And by the way, if you just want to pick up a great book, what I would do is start with a very thin book by Shakti Gawain. It's called Creative Visualization. Mm-hmm. And by the way, if you're interested, I don't know if I have it on my website tonight, but I will endeavor to get that up pretty soon. We have a Amazon affiliate store, and I can put it there. It's called Creative. You can buy it anywhere you want, but Creative Visualization. It's by Shakti Gawain, Gawain. And that is hugely important for helping you to visualize what you want to be, or what you want to do, or what your birth experience is, or that you want to be on Sandra's show, or whatever. Okay. But another thing you could do is you could get this videotape, which is called Orgasmic Birth. Wow. There's a book as well. Okay. And it's by Elizabeth Davis, but there is also a video. And I think that if people could see people, being in this orgasmic, ecstatic state, I think that would be hugely helpful. Somebody at the break also asked about water birth.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on water birth, and I cannot say that I've seen one, but I have seen this. Whatever it takes for a woman to be relaxed, that would do the job. And I could just like if there were one thing I would want to talk about, and I don't have time to talk about it because we'll never get done here tonight. But by the way, Sandra, I totally love this idea of being the guest. When I'm the host, I I just get to ask the questions.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you on that.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
I love to be able to just say what I want to say.
Good for you. Go for it.
But here's the thing, is that things like hypnosis, if you ever see a woman give birth with self-hypnosis, it is absolutely like, it's almost as though you yourself go into the trance, by the way, because the room is so calm and the lights are down and everybody is just in this receptive moment. And I don't know how to explain it other than that. But women have to be able to visualize this wonderful birth of bringing their baby into the world. This is like having your first intimate encounter with a partner, except it's a lot better because, yeah.
I'll say.
Because
you end up with the baby.
Yeah, and the baby is for the rest of your life, okay? Yeah. The partner may or may not be, but the baby definitely, you can't send I've told this to people, you can't send the baby back, all right?
No.
So here's the thing, is that when you see this and you really believe that it's possible, then I think that is a huge, huge piece. And by the way, people will say to me, well, I don't need a doula. I have my husband, my partner, my boyfriend, my whatever. And honestly, I have seen hundreds, maybe thousands of partners, and here's what happens. Even those who are very committed to the woman's well-being don't do as well as a doula. And you're saying, well, Marie, how could that be? Well, here's why. Because first of all, male partners have no experience having given birth, and they have a very, 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 very limited amount of training to help a woman to do labor. This is like the hardest work a woman's ever going to do. All right. And also this partner is emotionally attached. So the doula is a little bit more objective. And I will tell you another thing. I have worked more nights, and I'm talking like graveyard shift, 11 to 7, okay? I have worked more nights than I want to admit to. My feet are tired just thinking about it, okay? And what happens is that a lot of these men just fall asleep. It's 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, kill them.
But they can't help it, okay? Yeah. Because they're not necessarily involved in this, and especially if she's got a long, slow labor, they're like, okay, well, let me know when something really starts perking. And it's like, well, honey, she's perking right now. So I would say that having a doula is just a hugely, hugely important part of learning how to do visualization, having the support you need. And I'm going to reiterate, this literature is substantial. I've got, I don't know, a stack of studies that show that obstetrical intervention is less likely when women have trained support during labor. Most of the time we call those people doulas. Now, by the way, I am not a doula, but I'm sure I could support somebody.
I'm sorry to cut you off. We just have to take a break. Don't go away and join the conversation on Facebook. We're on Facebook on the commercial, so we'll be right back with Straight Talk with Sandra Reish.
Your life, your health, your network. You're listening to Voice America Health and Wellness.
Change your life forever with the latest cutting-edge products for home study treatment for anxiety, featuring the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression and host of Straight Talk, Sandra Reish. Sandra is joined by top therapist Georgia Dow in this revolutionary anxiety videos therapy series. Thousands of people have benefited from this scientifically proven treatment approach. Isn't it time you chose yourself? Visit anxiety-videos.com right now. That's anxiety-videos.com and change your life forever.
Spa Munari is a full-service wellness day spa located at the heart of West Island, Quebec. Submerge yourself in beauty with one of our many treatments, specially catered to your needs. We offer facials, manicures, pedicures, hair removal, massages, body treatments, and so much more. Enjoy our ultimate relaxation experience with our spa packages. We offer a men's menu as well. Call us today to book your next appointment at 514-695-5040 or visit us on the web at spamunari.com. That's 514-695-5040 or spamunari.com.
Join the therapist who is affectionately known as the Couple Whisperer, Sandra Reish, on her famous couple retreats and change your life forever. Sandra offers couple retreats in beautiful locations several times a year that can radically change your love life. Couples describe her retreats as life-changing. Regain that loving feeling, bring your intimacy to a new level, and rediscover excitement and joy. Find out more at helpforanxietydepression.com or call 514-796-4357. We all want love and safety. Now you can have it. Call 514-796-4357 or helpforanxietydepression.com.
Your life, your health, your network. This is Voice America Health and Wellness.
You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reish.
We are back. It is such an interesting topic. So many people are having reactions to it. Someone's actually asking me on Facebook if you're willing to take on a mentee, so we can talk about that off the air. Because you are so interesting, and the work you're doing, in my opinion, is so very important. So in the interest of time, there's a couple of things I really want to get through before we run out of time. So it's clear to me that you're not a fan of using medications in labor, but yet you understand that no one's a fan of pain. So you've mentioned visualization. Is that the key alternative to medication, is a visualization and doulas? Because also people are asking, how do you find a doula? So that's like a 3-part question for you.
Okay. All right. Well, let me take on how to find a doula. I would go to www.dona, that's like Dog, Oscar, Nancy, America, DONA.org. And I believe that there's a place there where you can put in your zip code or whatever and find a doula. If you are in the greater Dallas area, I would suggest a particular person. Her name is Amber Thomas. If you're in the Pittsburgh area, I would suggest Teresa Bailey. Now, both of these women came to my breastfeeding courses. I've certainly encountered other doulas, but these women were just phenomenal. So yeah, I'm a big fan of getting doula support. I can't imagine why anybody would not do that. But yes, visualization, yes. I would also suggest look at the evidence. Look at what we know. We know that Medili's study showed that Reiki, and I'm never sure if I pronounced that right. It's Reiki, Reiki. Yeah, is very effective. You could look at Ekpagambara's study, and what they looked at was the effectiveness of acupressure. You could look at and I cannot pronounce this man's name, it's Bolbal. And what they looked at was that massage during labor decreased the duration of labor. So that's another piece that's hugely important. I would also say get Marie Mangan's book on hypnosis or hypnobirthing. Okay. Yeah, it's Marie Mangan. I'm sorry, I mispronounced her name. It's Mongan. Again, I know with certainty that's on my site. It's borntobebreastfed.com. And if you noodle around in there somewhere, you'll find it. I just want to mention Bergstrom's study showed that women who had adequate psychoprophylaxis, that is something like Lamaze or Bradley method, are less likely to have cesarean births.
Yeah, and I'll just add on to that if it's Canadians and they're looking for a doula, we know a very good doula from the clinic. So contact us, and massage also. I know an expert in that as well. So you can contact me as well at info@helpforanxietydepression.com. I'll tell you, after listening to you, I have new respect for the woman I know who's a doula. And this is so important. So again, the alternatives are visualization, Reiki, massage, hypnosis. These are the things that you think are very important.
I think that people owe it to themselves to check it out rather than to just ask the question, how soon can I get my epidural? I can't deal with this pain.
Just so we're clear, does this mean you're totally against epidurals, or do you think that in some cases they're required? I just want to make sure this is clear.
Sandra, I have seen some horrific labors in my day. There are days when I come out of the labor room and I say, I would never want to have a baby. This is the most awful thing in the world. But fortunately, the next night you see somebody that, the baby practically falls out, and then you change your mind. But I would say that people have to cope in the way that they have to cope. What I'm really against is people just doing it because it's the default, which here in the U.S., pretty much nowadays, having your epidural is the default.
Right. I hear what you're
nobody
saying.
should have the default anything.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah. Okay, so, just a couple of things that are important to me as we're slowly getting towards the hour is that, number one, what do you think and what do you feel is the most important message you want to leave with the Straight Talk listeners?
I would say the message would be that you must believe in yourself and you must tell yourself the right story. Women have been giving birth for thousands of years, and you can too. And there's a reason why they call it an ecstatic birth. And I'm big on the etymology of words. EC means outside and static means state. You are literally outside of your state. This is a trance-like situation that you can have. I'm not saying you will have, but you could have. And your chances for that increase a lot if you know how to work with your own body.
Who first coined this expression, ecstatic birth?
Oh, I did know that. I'd like to say Michelle Odant, but I'm not sure.
Okay, but it is a legitimate expression,
yes.
Ecstatic birth, and it's a new way of looking at things. Now, you are a wealth of information. You are a fascinating woman. I want right now for people to know exactly how they can contact you and stay in touch with you. For the person who wants to be your mentee, for everybody, your courses, give it all to us, Marie.
Oh, Sandra. Well, first of all, you should definitely listen to my show called Born to be Breastfed. It airs every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm just outside of Washington, D.C. But of course, as you know, you can get it on iTunes, et cetera, et cetera. So you can find me there. If you are a nurse, a doula, a dietitian, whatever else, and you want to become a lactation consultant or a lactation expert, I do give courses, and here is my site for professional folks or people who want to go professional, and that is breastfeedingoutlook.com. I will repeat that. It's breastfeedingoutlook.com, which, by the way, I never can figure out why I don't have doulas beating a path to my door, because I cannot imagine how they can go without breastfeeding knowledge. And how else can they find me? Facebook, LinkedIn, all of those kind. If you just Google, how many people do you know whose name is Marie Biancuzzo? All right. So if you Google Marie, Biancuzzo, Marie Biancuzzo, that's me. You will find me probably more places than you ever thought possible. And I'll be happy to have some sort of read my blog, for heaven's sakes.
Well, you've been awesome, Maria, and I want to thank you so much. You've been an amazing guest. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you. I had a blast.
Oh, so much fun. And I was on Marie's show recently. You can check out, if you go on Born to be Breastfed, you'll see the show I did with her, and I'll be doing one again.
Another one.
Yeah. I want to also thank you so much again, Marie. I want to thank Spalmaneri again for helping to make this show possible. I want to mention that this Sunday I will be speaking at a fabulous charity event here in Montreal, the 23rd of October, to raise money for lymphoma. This is an important cause, and please come by and say hi to both Robert and I. Will be there. To find out more, go to www.takeittothematmontreal.ca and please get your tickets. There'll be celebrities, local celebrities, yoga, and I'll be talking about living a purposeful life. If you want more information, just call us at 514-777-4530 to find out more. As usual, I'd like to especially thank our listeners from all over the world. We hear that you're from all over the world. Thank you for listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Riche. I'd like to invite you all to come back next week. If you're interested in our upcoming couple retreat in Mexico, our women's retreat at Spa Eastman, therapy, or any other media that was mentioned on this show or previous shows, check out www.helpforanxietydepression.com. Don't forget to check out straighttalksandariche.com/radio gifts to get a whole bunch of free gifts just for you. Stay in touch with us on our Facebook page, Straight Talk with Sandra Riche. Feel free to leave a question for me, for myself, or any of our guests, and don't forget to like our page. You can always hear this show or any prior show as a podcast on my website or on the podcast app of your iPhone or iTunes under Straight Talk with Sandra Riche. You can drop me a comment or a question at info@helpforanxietydepression.com. That's helpforanxietydepression.com. If you're a professional and you're looking for training or a speaker on anxiety, depression, emotional intelligence, compassion, fatigue, or living a purposeful life, remember, I'm your source for evidence-based practice and education. I'm Sandra Riche, and I promise I'll help you learn to live your best life again next Thursday, same time, same channel. In the meantime, this is Straight Talk with Sandra Riche. Keep your eyes on the stars.
Thank you for listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Riche. We hope you've enjoyed today's show, and we'll tune in again next Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. Now, go live your best life.